So the first little part that I'm going to be leading on for this morning is a little bit of a chat around motivation. I did send out with the link a little bit of a thought around if people could have a think around their past experiences. So either slightly positive, slightly negative kind of coaching, or areas when they've been coached. And in a moment, so just have a little bit of think about those areas again. In a moment, what would be great is if a couple of people would like to share some of those without it being overly negative or without naming any coaches or anything like that. Just so we've got a slightly more relatable thought process as we're going along through things, really. In essence, motivation is, or are, the needs and wants of why we do things. So without any motivation, we wouldn't ever do anything. Or we could be completely motivated to not do something because it's completely against our best interest. Motivation basically has two separate areas to it. We can be intrinsically motivated or extrinsically motivated. So intrinsic motivations could be going whitewater kayaking because you like the thrill of actually doing it, or going open canoeing. Like these are my motivations for those areas anyway. Going open canoeing for that thought of just being able to drift and relax and take that enjoyment of nature as I'm going along. Or I could be extrinsically motivated to work and to do things to make money to pay for more paddling kit. So that's my extrinsic motivation for going to work and needing to do things, is to make more money to be able to spend it on paddling kit so I can enjoy those other areas, those other aspects. So all individuals are motivated differently by different things. And as coaches, as clubs, as individuals, I think it's great to try and get people more towards that intrinsic aspect of motivation, so that they want to do things for the pure enjoyment of doing it. And if we can assist them to get in that direction sooner, quicker, and make things easier for them, then they should be enjoying their time out on the water with us, or whatever it is they're doing, a little bit more so. So that's the kind of thought of where we're going for this fairly short session on motivation. I could speak about it for ages because my master's thesis focused on motivation of paddle sport, so I do like it quite a lot. And coaching background, I definitely enjoy that side of it, that understanding why people do things a lot more so. Cool, I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds and just wondering, did anyone have any examples of times when they were, when things went fairly well or fairly badly whilst paddling or being coached or coaching, those kind of things?
Okay, one of the thoughts I have is that I find the groups of the kids in our club tend to enjoy the sessions when they're purely fun, purely messing around, going just not paddling very far, sort of lots of swimming and jumping off things and things like that. And they're less motivated, less enjoy the sessions when I'm trying to teach them specific skills or get them through different awards and different programs and badges. And they tend to respond much better to pure fun sessions, and we get far more turning up when we do sessions that are just about playing games and not trying to teach for certificates or anything like that, which is slightly frustrating. I mean, it's good fun, but whether that leads to long-term progress, I'm not too sure.
Cool.
So if you have a method for motivating them to go for more of the teaching side and the award structure, that would be good.
Cool. I'm going to hang on to that one for a moment, and I'm going to see if there's one or two other examples, and I kind of wrap everything up together then, because they'll all tie into each other, hopefully, as we're going along. So I'll hang on to that one for a moment. Did anyone else have another one?
Yeah, on a similar vein, Last year we purchased subs just to add diversity to kayaks and canoes. But we now get queues for the subs and starting to move away from wanting to sit in a canoe or a kayak. Okay. So we're rapidly becoming a sub club.
Now, I'll pick one each. I don't know whether they're quite relevant. I don't know whether it's what you're looking for. I remember when I very first started out taking an interest in coaching, I was told that I would never be a good coach unless I could paddle whitewater well. And at that point, I had no interest in whitewater. I nearly walked away from coaching, but I didn't. I decided to stick at it, and I've realised, I think, since I don't think that's relevant, because everybody has a different view. And on the positive side, one of the most rewarding sessions I have done personally, again, was in my coach training a long time ago, when I moved from kayak to canoe, which I hadn't really done before. And over a day's coaching up at Llandyssil, I went from not knowing one end of a boat from another to getting down, all the way down the river at Llandyssil solo without touching a rock, and making all the eddies along the way, which I was really pleased with. And I remember that day so well.
Cool, that was really cool. Did anyone have one other one? And then I'll bring all these bits together and explain why I've asked about these.
Right. If I could come in,
yeah.
I had a paddling session where I was a coach and I was acting as a sort of safety lookout as well. And I noticed there was a teenage boy with us who was really, really enthusiastic coming up through the ranks and paddling. And some of the coaches and the group had stopped to surf some waves on the river. And one of the coaches got on the wave and quickly got flushed off. And this kid got on it, and he hadn't much experience, but he was surfing it really well. Now, the rest of the group was planning on moving ahead, but I could see the coach himself was a bit frustrated. He wanted to go on the wave. Now, the kid was hogging the wave because he was so excited and so enthusiastic, which I thought was really positive. I thought, I'll hang back and observe here because there's two of them on the wave, and in case I need to go in for a rescue or anything. The coach ended up losing it and pushing the kids off the wave by placing the end of his paddle on his face, which to Mama, it was almost aggression. But I could see he was frustrated. I don't know why. It's in case, I feel as if he felt inferior because the kid was showing him up a bit on his paddling skills. And I think the coach lost his cool. Immediately I had to intercept, leave the coach to deal with himself and make sure the junior was okay. He was okay. He was just a bit annoyed, and he was saying, why did he do that? And I said, well, actually his paddle slipped because it was the only thing I could see at the time. He wasn't deliberately trying to, hit you in the face. But I could see there was frustration there. And that's always played in my mind now when I'm out with groups, observing them, of how that situation came about. I don't think the coach in any way was being over-aggressive or deliberate. I just think he lost it a bit. And it's always something I wonder, maybe to a wee bit worry about now, of how that situation occurred and what could I have done to ease that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cool. So within motivation, there's lots of different theories around motivation and how people become more self-motivated with what they're doing. One of the theories, and the one which I went into more so, was self-determination theory. And the main people behind that are DC and Ryan. So that's DECI and Ryan, or Ryan and DC, whatever way around they write things at different times. Those are the people behind that theory anyway. And within that, there's three things which they say, or their theories kind of boil down to, which can make people more self-determined. And those three things are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So going through the examples, so we've got 4 examples or 5 examples that were mentioned earlier. And if we think about that child session where they want to mess around, play around with games and that sort of things, and that's what they're enjoying more, that's what they want to take part in more. And that's just because of the relatedness side of it, partly. Like they're used to being with friends and playing games. That's what they do in lots of different environments, lots of different things. That's kind of what they're used to doing. That's the way they're going through that learning process. And when we're telling them not to play the games and to do something else, we're removing that autonomy. So we're taking away the decision-making process from them as to what they're wanting and able to do. If we tell them, oh, okay, this will really help with this game. If you want to get better at that game, this one skill might help with that. Then we're showing them the competence to improve the game, and it's making it relatable to what they want to achieve. So as coaches, we can tie in these different areas to assist people with wanting to learn in the aspects or in the areas they want to learn themselves. With the SUP side of things, again, it could be coming down to that competence area and just thinking of how easy people can progress with SUPs from finding it fairly unstable and then within 5-10 minutes being able to paddle it and move it around fairly easily. They're designed to go in a straight line fairly comfortably. So people can progress with it fairly easily, fairly quickly. So they feel as though they're becoming more competent fairly quickly. So that could be a reason why people are moving more towards that SUP area within that club. Also, there's a lot more imagery going around regarding accessibility with SUP. So perhaps people are approaching it because of the way they perceive SUPs to be. They're looking and thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to be on top of a board. It doesn't matter if I fall off of it because I can get back on. Everyone falls off of it. So it's an okay thing to do. They're not going to see themselves as in a negative light, whereas in a kayak or on a canoe, it could be frustrating to fall off of it all the time or to fall out of it and to need to empty it and all those different things that come with it. So that could be a reason why they want to move towards that SUP area. With the whitewater kayaking, thinking of only being a coach if you're able to do the whitewater kayaking side of it. Again, that's removing a lot of autonomy and saying you can only be a coach if you can do the whitewater kayaking side of things. By removing the autonomy, removing the thought processes and that ability to progress how you want to, you've taken away the decision-making process. It's made it far more negative. And again, with the competence side of things, you don't want to do the whitewater kayaking. You enjoying the areas that you're enjoying, and it's feeling that I can only do things if I'm moving in that direction, which is removing a lot of the motivation for yourself. And again, the third area, relatedness, falls into that as well. You may not see yourself as a whitewater kayaker, so you don't want to be a whitewater kayak coach. You don't want to mess around in whitewater environments. So it's completely removed yourself from that area because all 3 parts of that motivation have been removed from you. And the really good example, or the really good day out paddling, was going down the site in Llandyssil and make it down there nicely. And it's that huge achievement, that competence has been recognized, and you've been able to go down and enjoy that whole section without too much going wrong. So again, that competence has been ticked off nicely. With the boy on the wave, thinking of the coach pushing him off, again, the coach's competence was brought into question. They possibly saw himself or themselves as being the better person in the group, and to be shown up, their competence was questioned, and it made them more frustrated and wanted to get back into things. As coaches, if we can give people choices within the session, what would you like to do? Would you like to do X or Y? Which bit would be better for you? Then we're giving them some control over the session and where it's going. They'll buy into it a little bit more. If we tell people when they've done something well, they're going to buy into things a little bit more because they perceive themselves as being or more competent in that area. They can see things progressing. If we set challenges that are attainable for people, then they'll see that as becoming more competent. The first time going down a rapid, it may be going down the rapid. That's your competence. The second time, it might be getting an eddy on the way. Third time, getting a couple of eddies. And then you're starting to control and move and get more competent as you're going along through the tasks and the challenges we're setting the individuals. And with the relatedness side of things, for me, that's one of the bigger areas, thinking of a whole club. Building those relationships within a club environment, getting to know people, knowing their names is such a basic area, and welcoming someone new into a club to know their names and to get to know people and to get them to understand how kit works and how to sit in a boat properly and to think about the environment that you're within. All of those things start to tie into that relatedness. They buy back into the club and they want to go out with those groups of paddlers, because we go paddling not just for the physical side of it, but for the social side. We make friends as we go paddling. We go paddling with groups of people, and we just happen to go to the same environments as those groups of people. It's all about the groups we're within, I find, for a lot of that paddling side of it. And that could be going back to that SUP example as well, is that a person's got out and has enjoyed the SUP side of things, and they've told their friends about it, who have also gone into the SUP side of things because that's what their friend has done. So it's the social groups bringing through additional people due to that relatedness side of things. So that's a lot of this kind of area within a nutshell, really, regarding motivation. And if as coaches we can work on those three areas to tell people that they're doing something well, to give people some control over what they're doing, and to build relationships as we're going through. So relationships to the environment, using language which works for that person, and making things more applicable to them in their everyday environment, should bring things together quite nicely and make sessions more fun, more engaging, and get people to stay with either a club or the sport in general.
Before you go to that, I quite agree with everything you said, but a lot of people in our club are motivated by perhaps they want to do Town Falls or they want to do Ballamill Falls, so they've got a specific kind of target and they're quite target orientated or target motivated, and a lot of they don't feel like they're succeeding until they've done those things, and that's kind of how they push themselves forward a lot. But I'm not sure if that's come into what you were talking about there.
Yeah, so that'll be tying into that competence side of things. So they only perceive themselves as being competent when they're able to do that task.
Yeah.
So that's how that would relate into that side of it. Same as coaches, to make people feel more competent, we'll increase the challenge slightly as we're going along, so they feel as though they are attaining and they are getting there.
Yeah. It's good to see when they finally do their, well, they always want a new target as soon as they've completed one. But, it's always good to see.
That's good. Were there any other thoughts on that session, that side of things?
No, seemed good.
And I could speak about it for far longer, but I wanted to bring things into as a concise amount of time as I could do, just to, bring out the points without me waffling for too long, hopefully. Cool. I'm going to be quiet for a moment and I will hand over to Paul on the next little bit.